Akiak, I am so thrilled that we have such a fun and most adorable panel tonight. I've been talking to them, and I'm just going to try not to, try to crack them up. Because apparently, even though I was born in Alaska, I was born in a white town in Homer, and my Yupak is not very good, I've been told. Go figure. Go figure. Anyway, I'll do the best I can, and I'll stumble along, and you might know the difference, and you might not. So we'll just pretend like you don't. Mike Williams, I'm so glad you're here. You're a Yupak?
Yes, real people. It means real people.
It means real people. Oh, you're the real people Sarah keeps talking about.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if she knows that. Now you know. From Akiak, Alaska, located on the Kuskokwim River. And he is the chief of his tribe. He's the vice chairman of the Akiak tribe and former vice chairman of the Alaska Intertribal Council, and an Iditarod musher who mushes every year.
Yes, I've done 14 of those for the cause of sobriety, and it's part of our culture that we have always had dogs and never had without dogs in Akiak. So it's just our dependence on the dogs that we celebrate every day.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad you're here. Art Ivanoff is a commercial fisherman from Unalakleet and is a subsistence user there. He also serves on the Southern Norton Sound Advisory Committee. So welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And Fred Phillips, who's adorable. I'm serious. Stop being so cute. I've got to do a TV show. He's a commercial fisherman in Bristol Bay. He's a former member of the board of directors from the Callista Native Corporation. He grew up and lives in, and this is the part where he gets to say it because I've been practicing and I just keep spitting on him and I can't help it. Say it.
Quig. Quigilingok.
Now you know why. He's the coordinator for the Berring Sea Elders Advisory Group, and Fred was involved in lobbying for the creation of CDQ Community Development Quota groups. So all of you, welcome. Welcome to town. I know you're here to meet. You met with Noah, I understand. There was a big meeting today, and to talk about subsistence. And before, I don't think people realize that subsistence isn't just about food, it's about who we are. I grew up subsistence, though I'm not native, but I grew up eating things I killed. That's basically what it is, or picked or gathered. Can you talk about, why don't we start with you? Why don't you talk about what that means, if you had to describe to people what subsistence life means to you?
Well, I grew up in Akiak, living that life. We depended on existence, depending on fish and game for survival every day. And we did not have any cash economy out there. The only thing that we survived out of was fish and game, and we would do fish camps in the summer. Mm-hmm. We would do fall camps in the fall, and basically gather food all throughout the summer and to sustain ourselves into the future. I think with that, I think it is very, very important that all the Alaska community understands and respect the issue of survival in our villages. And it has been a divisive issue for many, many years. And I know the state of Alaska has had dealt with it for many years, and the federal subsistence policies are coming down to all of us. So things have changed from that society in very short period of time, in 100 years. Our societies in Akiak changed in matter of decades, a few decades. So this generation, my generation, is the one that have seen that rapid change, and through the laws that affected us in a big way, in a big negative way, is affecting the whole ecosystem and our way of life out in our villages.
So do you think, when you were saying that, I was wondering, do you think we should change the word subsistence to survival living?
It is, I think, I have trouble with the word subsistence. I have had trouble with the word subsistence, and it just, our way of life, depending on the fish and game to survive, to it's more than survival. It is spiritual, cultural, and all of the above to our way of life. And
Right, it's not just what's for dinner.
no,
Right.
no, it is more than that.
Art, how would you answer that question? Like in your life, you're growing up, and by the way, you and I are going to get into it on whether the Kuskokwim or the Koyukuk have bigger moose. Because I know this is like a big
Yes,
issue tearing
we'll
up Alaska.
debate that.
We'll go for that. I just want to put it on your plate. Think of what you're going to get me on.
I think it's an interesting question, the term subsistence, and I look at it. I was in San Francisco at an environmental justice forum talking about climate change. We had folks from all over. It was an environmental justice forum. And I asked the group, what is subsistence to you? And I got various responses, but I think the most intriguing response was someone from New York. And what she said was, when I think of the term subsistence, I think of something derogatory. And I told her, you hit it right on. Your definition of subsistence is so far removed from ours. In fact, because in our definition, it blends the spiritual, social, economic aspects into one activity. It brings a family together, and we interact in the environment. And I think it's a lot richer. And again, the term subsistence, again, I really think it's a derogatory, and I think the Native community need to identify a term that's more appropriate than the term that is currently used.
Right, it's almost as though, subsistence means it's for free. It's like you can just go get it for free, and that's really not what this is about. However, that is part of the impression that people get.
But if you look at the definition of subsistence, it's below or at the poverty level. That's not our definition of subsistence, because again, it blends all those disciplines into one function.
Right, and if you see, like in September, the moose hunters headed out of Anchorage, it's not a poverty issue that they're going to take a moose. You don't drive a $10,000 four-wheeler to go get something because you can't afford going to Costco. I mean, it's the living off the land thing there has to be a different respect to it. Fred, what do you think about this term, and how do you define subsistence to yourself, and what do you think it really is projected as?
From traditional view, the Yupik word I would use is upingaluni, jumchluni, which means ready and gathering. And it's not a seasonal thing. It's not just about fish. It's not just about game. It includes plants that we gather from springtime, the early sprouts in the springtime. We gather those all the way up to even after freeze up. We have all the different things that we use to sustain and survive. That's how I see subsistence in my village and the areas. We come from very different places. Each different place has a way of doing things differently. But all in all, I think the whole term in itself is surviving off the land, and that's how I see subsistence. And
it's called something so different, and frankly, if we need to find a new word for it, it's not going to be the one that you said.
Probably not.
Unless we can just take you around to say it everywhere, because, but I think this idea of survival. I mean, I don't know how it feels to you, but I talk to all kinds of people in Alaska. I talk to all kinds of people outside of Alaska. And they'll say, that I'm Alaskan Native. And I'm just like, am I Native Alaskan or Alaskan Native? Because I'm not one of the first people of Alaska, but I was born here. I mean, it's just, there are so many terms that don't really reflect, or ground us who we are. But in the whole idea of subsistence, and having grown up eating more salmon and halibut and thinking that Spam was a treat, something from the store was something special, and all of the crab and the clams, and this was something, that was put on us because it was what was readily available. Go ahead. You had
I think one thing I missed out is it's not a one-person deal. The whole family is involved, or the whole family members, whether it be my father-in-law, my own mom and dad, everybody gets involved in the activities.
And everybody consumes that.